The report is available now from the Volteface website, which is volteface.me. I'm Hardeep Matharu. I'm a journalist specialising in justice and social affairs, and I tweet at Hardeep_Matharu. If you've got a rough sleeper who's, got misuse issues with heroin or crack, there are services that exist that they can be referred into. But with spice and new psychoactive substances, MPS in general, those services don't seem to exist yet, so they can't be referred into anything that will specifically tackle spice. So it becomes quite difficult for people in charities and hostels to know what to really recommend. And I mean, there was one story that I was told, I think, illustrates the effect it's having on the people who are trying to help rough sleepers using spice. Jonathan Billings, he runs the Wellspring Centre in Stockport, which is a homeless centre and a 100-bed shelter. And they also do outreach work. So they go out into Manchester city centre every Wednesday evening to try to engage with people who are on the streets. They take leaflets, try to hand them out, try to make people aware of the facilities they can offer. And he was saying that sometimes there can be up to 100 people rough sleeping in the city, and 80% of them are using spice. And he was telling me that every Wednesday night he comes away with a massive headache because he's been around spice and he's obviously taking it in. And he was saying it was just unacceptable, and that if the situation continues, they'll have to think about withdrawing that service. So there's an issue there where you can't help these people. You can't let them into hostels. You can't necessarily go out and help them because they're just smoking spice. So it is all very new and people feel very much out of their depth. On one level, fundamentally, it comes down to the sort of society we want to live in, right? And how we treat vulnerable people. And you see this again in prison, and you see this on the streets. These are the two biggest groups using this drug. And you can see why. These issues are not vote winners. These issues are not ones that people are crying out for funding to be put into, reform prisons, put lots of funding into helping rough sleepers. But I think it comes down to what sort of society do you really want? And actually, when people are on the streets, and as I said, rough sleeping is just increasing, and they're becoming so unwell because of the effects of spice, that is having repercussions elsewhere. So one, all that can be done is call the police or call an ambulance, which puts a strain on the health service and the police. And also you have all sorts of stories of people walking out in front of buses, people becoming very aggressive, turning up at ex-partners' homes with a machete. So really, if you don't look at this properly now, you're going to get a whole group of people entrenched into using this drug. And I think the possible the amount of harm they can do to themselves and potentially others could be quite great if it's not taken seriously.